So once again, good morning dear students, and let us begin with the storyline of Friss, which is written by Satyajit Ray. Now the first thing we need to remember is that Jayanto, who is the protagonist of the story, he returns to Bundi in Rajasthan after 31 years. He was accompanied by his friend Shankar, who is the narrator of the story, and we are informed about the friendship that existed between the protagonist Jayanto and the narrator of the story, that is Shankar. So Jayanto and Shankar, they were very old friends. They were friends since their childhood days. They had gone to the same school and college, and now Jayanto worked in the editorial division of a newspaper, whereas Shankar taught in a school. Although they had different kinds of jobs, yet it had not made any difference to their friendship. They still were very good friends, and they had been planning for a trip to Rajasthan for quite some time. The main difficulty lay in both of them being able to go together to Bundi, was that they were working people and they had a difficulty, like they could not find time off from their work. However, at last they somehow made it possible to visit Bundi. And Jayanto, immediately after arriving at Bundi, he was little quiet, and the narrator also, he looked at the expression of Jayanto's face, and he could clearly make out that Jayanto was not in cheerful spirits. It is then that the narrator asked Jayanto if he was not well, because he seemed to be in very low spirits. He seemed to be very depressed. However, Jayanto shed off his preoccupied air, and he gave a cheerful smile, a boy's smile, and said that he was feeling a lot better. Why? Because he really considered Bundi to be a wonderful place. Now it is quite strange that while most of the people visit famous places in Rajasthan like Jaipur, Udaipur or Chittor, which are tourist attractions, but Jayanto insisted on going to Bundi. Now, though Shankar was puzzled at Jayanto's choice for the trip, he obliged. Now, the reason for his obligation was that he had often read in Tagore's poem about the fort of Bundi. So he was certainly familiar with the name of the place, and he was filled with a pleasurable excitement at the idea of actually visiting Bundi and seeing the fort. And not many people came to Bundi, but that no ways mean that there was not much to see there. It could be that from the point of view of a historian, Udaipur, Jodhpur and Chittor had a lot more to offer, because there are many different forts in these places. But when we talk of beauty, Bundi was perfect. It was no doubt a beautiful place. And then Jayanto also insisted Shankar that they must visit Bundi. And this insistence of Jayanto did not puzzle Shankar in any ways. Why? Because when they were on their journey towards Bundi, when they were on the train, he came to know from Jayanto that Jayanto had spent his early childhood in Bundi. He had visited Bundi when he was 6 years old. In fact, Jayanto's father, Animesh Dasgupta, he had worked in the archaeological department, and it is because of his work that sometimes he had to make a visit to historical places. And since Jayanto was very small at that time, he used to take Jayanto and his family along with him. So he had always, that is how Jayanto came to visit Bundi. He has spent his early childhood in Bundi when his father was in that place for doing some archaeological survey. And then after some time they returned back to their native place, that is Kolkata. However, after returning, Jayanto always had the desire to revisit Bundi when he grows up, just to see how the modern Bundi can be compared to the past Bundi or the image of the place which Jayanto had in his mind as a child. So that is the reason why he was always anxious, excited to visit Bundi. And after visiting Bundi, Jayanto stayed in the circuit house, that is the rest house, exactly the same place where they had stayed when his father had come to conduct some archaeological survey in that place. And here we get a description of the circuit house. And the description of the circuit house as an old building lends an air of airiness to the story. The circuit house was really rather splendid. It was built during the British time, during the colonial era, and it was almost 100 years old. The circuit house was almost 100 years old. We are informed that it was a single-storied building with a sloping tilted roof, and the rooms had high ceilings, and the skylights had long dangling ropes which could be pulled to open and shut them. The skylights had curtains that could be pulled to open and shut those those skylights. The veranda of the circuit house faced towards the east, and right opposite to it was a huge garden with a large number of roses in full bloom. Behind these trees or that garden there were a lot of trees which no doubt provided a shelter to a vast section of local birds. However, parrots also could be seen everywhere, and peacocks could be heard, but peacocks could be heard from only outside the compound. And after visiting Bundi, Jayanto and his friend Shankar, they had been on a sightseeing tour of the town. The famous fort of Bundi was placed amidst the hills, and they had seen that fort of Bundi from a distance when they went for a sightseeing in the town. But they decided on that particular day that sometime they would go to that fort in order to have a closer look at the fort. And when they were sightseeing that town, Jayanto could clearly make out that the only reminders of modern times were back in old Rajputana. The only reminders were the electric poles Otherwise, it appeared to them as if they were in back of old Rajputana. The streets were cobbled, the houses had balconies jutting out from the first floor, the carvings done on these and the wooden doors bore evidence of the work of master craftsmen. It was difficult to believe that they were living in the age of machines. So that means that there was not much changes in the town of Bundi, except few changes that indicated that these were the changes of the modern times. That is, there were electric poles, there were cobbled streets, the houses had balconies jutting out from the first floor, and the carvings done on these and the wooden doors, they bore the evidence of the work of master craftsmen. Otherwise, everything appeared to be the same. It appeared to them as though they were back in the times of old Rajputana. It was very difficult to believe that they were living in modern times, living in the age of machines, because there was still not much development that had taken place in Bundi. Now, after arriving at Bundi, the narrator, that is Sanka, he noticed that Jayanto had become little quiet. Perhaps the narrator felt that some of the memories of Jayanto had returned to him. And it is easy enough for a man to feel little depressed when visiting a place one may have seen as a child, because if you have visited a place as a child and if you revisit that same place after many years, after say 31 years, then obviously you will not feel that excited, that cheerful. You will be preoccupied with the memories of your childhood days. And Jayanto was a little bit more emotional than compared to other people. So therefore, he was recalling the memories of his childhood, and that made him little quiet. And when Jayanto was conversing with Shankar, he in fact tells Shankar that he felt that it was really quite strange, the changes. Why the changes that haven't taken place? He tells Shankar that the first time when he visited Bundi as a child, he used to sit cross-legged on the chairs. And it appeared to him then as if he was sitting on a throne. So a small child obviously will sit cross-legged on the chairs, and then the child might feel that he is sitting on the throne. But now the chairs seem small in size and they appear to be very ordinary. The drawing room used to be very enormous, and Jayanto says that if he had not returned, those memories would have remained stuck in his mind forever, and he could not have been able to cherish those memories of his childhood days. Now, Shankar, in order to explain, console Jayanto, in order to change his mind, he tells Jayanto that it is perfectly natural that when a child visits a place, then obviously to a child everything else appears to be larger. So the child, since the child is small in size, everything else seems large. But when one grows bigger with age, the size of all other things remain the same, and then they appear to be small. And after that, while staying in that circuit house, Jayanto and Shankar, they went for a stroll in the garden after having the tea. Jayanto, while walking in the garden, he suddenly stopped and said, "Dioda." So this is the first thing, strange thing that Jayanto recalls, after arriving in Bundi, that is the deodar tree. Now you see, Shankar was very puzzled, shocked, that what happened. He was strolling, they were on a stroll, Jayanto was walking, and all of a sudden he stopped and said, deodar. That startled Shankar, and Shankar started staring at him. And then Jayanto explains that there was a deodar tree in the garden. He says that it ought to be here somewhere, but he is not exactly able to recall that where the deodar tree was exactly located in the compound. Though he recalls the deodar tree, but he is unable to recall the exact association with the deodar tree. So, after some time, he exclaims joyfully, jubilantly, and he points out to Shankar, yes, it is here, exactly where it was before. So he finds out that deodar tree and says that the deodar tree is here, it is exactly at the same place where it was before, that is when he was a child of 6 years. And Jayanto very impatiently he shakes his head and he says, it's understood that the tree is supposed to be where it used to be. Anyway, trees do not have legs, they can't move from one place to another. But however, Shankar expressed his desire to know that what made Jayanto think of that deodar tree. And Jayanto is not able to recall the exact association with the deodar tree. However, he remembers that something had brought him near the tree. He had done something there when he had come to stay in Bundi as a child, and he is only able to recall a European. He says a European, and after that he tries hard but is unable to recall. Shankar is still puzzled and he says European, and then Jayanto says that he is unable to recall anything, and in fact memory is a strange business. Why sometimes we recall everything, sometimes we try very hard, still we are unable to recall things. And then we are also told about the third character in the story who has a very little significance in the story. Yet the description of this character adds to the strangeness of the circuit house, to the airiness of the atmosphere in the circuit house. That is the cook in the circuit house. So the cook in the circuit house was a good cook. And then we say that the cook in those days was called Dilawar. When Jayanto had visited Bundi as a child, during those times the cook was called Dilawar. And this cook had a scar on his left cheek and his eyes were always red. So you see a scary look, a scar on his cheeks, his eyes were always red, but though he had an ugly appearance, a scary look, but he was an excellent cook. And then Jayanto's memories, the memories of Jayanto began returning one by one soon after their dinner. So when after finishing their dinner they went to the drawing room, and when Jayanto was sitting in a relaxed way, at that time the memories started returning to him one by one. He could clearly recall where his father used to sit and smoke a cheroot, where his mother used to sit and knit, and what magazines used to be lying on the table during those days. And slowly, in bits and pieces, he recalls the whole business about the doll. So here we are introduced to a doll, and the name of the doll is Friss. We get to know that it was not an usual kind of doll. It was in fact a doll that was brought to Joyanto by his uncle, and his uncle had brought that doll for him from Switzerland. The doll was a 12-inch long figure of an old man dressed in traditional Swiss clothes. And apparently, the doll was very lifelike. So, though it was an inanimate object, but it appeared to be lifelike. That is quite strange, and the description of the doll lends an air of mystery to the story, and it adds to that element of supernaturalism in the story. Although nowadays you find what, when you go to the market to buy a doll, you find mechanized dolls which runs on batteries, and the doll can laugh, can clap, can walk, okay, can move its limbs, because it is mechanized. It is the working of a machine. But this particular doll Frizz was not mechanized, but still it was possible to bend and twist its limbs. The limbs of the doll could be twisted and bended. So that also is quite strange. The face of the doll had a smile on it, and on its head it wore a Swiss cap with a little yellow feather sticking out from it. Its clothes, especially in their little details, were perfect. So a perfect description of the clothes of the doll are given. He wore belt, buttons, pockets, collars, socks, and there were even little buckles on the shoe. And when his uncle returned from Europe and visited Joyanto in Bundi, the little old man from whom his uncle had bought the doll in Switzerland had jokingly told Joyanto's uncle that he called the doll as Frizz. And he also explained to Joyanto's uncle that he should also call the doll by that particular name only, because the doll won't respond to any other name. So that is again a lifelike quality. So it is quite strange that the doll had a name and the doll responded only to that particular name. And Joyanto, as a child, he had a lot of toys with him when he was small. His parents used to give him everything that he wanted. Perhaps the reason was that he was their only child. But when Joyanto got that doll Frizz, he forgot about all his other toys. He used to spend most of his free time with that doll only. He used to play with Frizz, and a time came when he started spending hours just talking to him. And their conversation, of course, had to be one-sided. The doll cannot respond. But Frizz had such a funny smile on his lips and such a look in his eyes that it always appeared to Joyanto as though he could understand every word spoken by Joyanto. Sometimes Joyanto used to wonder that if they could actually converse, then he will have to speak with the doll in German, because the doll was brought from Switzerland. And that was obviously a childish fantasy, a childish imagination, because at that time everything, even that doll, appeared to be real to Joyanto. And his parents also did warn him not to overdo things, but he listened to no one. The parents also found that he was spending too much time with the doll, so they also warned Joyanto not to spend so much time with the doll, but Joyanto as a child did not listen to anyone. So at that time he was not yet put in school, so he had all the time at his home to spend with the Frizz. So he used to spend most of his time with Frizz. So the description of Frizz is quite easy. The way the writer describes the dress of Frizz, the fact that it was lifelike, then it wore perfect clothes, it had belt, buttons, pockets, collars, socks, and even there were buckles on his shoes. And again, the old man from whom Joyanto's uncle had brought that doll had explained to him that he must call that doll by the name Frizz because it would not respond to any other name. And then Joyanto saying that he used to spend hours with the doll conversing with the doll. Though the doll never replied to Joyanto, but still Joyanto says that the looks of his eyes, the smile on his face clearly expressed as if the doll was understanding every word that was uttered by Joyanto. So all these things adds or lends an air of mystery and airiness to the story. So today we do till here. In the next day we will be continuing with the rest of the text. Thank you and stay blessed.